Hello and welcome to Sound Off with System One. I'm your host, Krista Kornchuk, and I'm here today with our panel of experts to discuss your biggest interview, resume, and market questions. That means if you're tuning in live, you can send us your most pressing job search related questions and we'll answer them for you. Before we get started, here are a few words about System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life science, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees to work and 9,000 contractors in the United States, Canada, and the UK. As you're tuning in today, please join us in the comments. Our marketing team will be monitoring them. Let us know where you're joining from and what industry you work in. And as I said before, we encourage you to send us your most pressing job search related questions, as this is a live Q&A. Before we get started with your questions, I'd like to have our panel of experts introduce themselves. Our panel will also be sharing their hot jobs, which you can find by scanning the QR code or visiting jobs.system1.com. Leah, we'll start with you.
Well, sure. So my name is Leah Parrott, and I am with System One's technology and engineering group. So I am a senior account executive, and what that means is that I work with clients to either directly help them define their job requirements, build their teams, or even just help them through the hiring process itself. A little bit about us really quick. We work with clients across the U.S., either contractors or projects, FTE employees that our clients can also hire for technology or engineering positions. And a little context too is that these people that we hire will be doing things like modernizing a client's network, infrastructure, implementing or deploying various technologies, ensuring cybersecurity practices are in place and compliant, and building or programming applications that the company uses. So with that said, a hot job for me would be a front-end software developer position that I have with a phenomenal, well-established, very desirable financial organization that we support. It's a 6-month contract to hire role, and it is hybrid remote, I would say. You do need to live in the Orlando area, but you do need to be on site 2 days a week, and then the other 3 can be remote. The person needs to have 3 years of experience with front-end web development, specifically React, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, SASS, Bootstrap, and WCMS platforms. So the company is anticipating growth and growing their team this year. That's why the position's open. Would love to have you apply.
I'm Erica Higginbotham, Senior Recruiter with Mountain Limited, based out of New Gloucester, Maine. Mountain provides turnkey engineering services for the telecommunication industry, supporting both wireline and wireless customers and projects all throughout the U.S. One of our hot jobs this week is for an outside plant inspector supporting a telecom client in the greater Portland, Oregon market. With this position, we are looking for candidates that have experience with outside plant telecom construction, knowledge of the National Electrical Safety Codes as well. We have 3 openings. It is considered a contract role, but it's a long-term, ongoing W-2 contract opportunity.
Jeanita Carter. I am with the System One group, the Power and Engineering group. I'm a recruiting manager. I have been with System One for almost 24 years. I was part of an acquisition that they made of a company called Precision Resource Company. I mainly focus on the EPC firms, which is engineering, procurement, and construction. And we focus on the building of power plants, LNG projects, petrochemical plants, any kind of process plants. We also find engineers for like Kerrs, the beer factories, those types of places. My hot job is I word on the street is I'm fixing to get some commissioning positions down in Texas, which is where I live. And they will be part of a power island on a large project. And we are looking for an electrical lead, mechanical, instrumentation and controls. Really, if you have an electrical background with high voltage experience, please just reach out and touch base with me and follow me on LinkedIn. I try to put out a post every week about what I have going on and new jobs that I have.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing your hot jobs. Again, to view the hot jobs, you can scan the QR code or go to jobs.system1.com. And without further ado, we're going to get started. I'm going to have our panel of experts start by sharing job tips that their candidates have been benefiting from. But please start sending in your questions now, and we'll start answering as many as possible. Leah, let's start with you.
Sure. So this one's near and dear to my heart because I've been through it as well. But my biggest piece of advice would be, I know I feel it in my soul. I know how frustrating it can be to just apply to many positions that seem to fit your background and that you'd be interested in. But I would encourage a job seeker to be very intentional with their job search. And what I mean by that is, you want to typically aim for, as opposed to maybe 50 generic quick apply type positions, you want to aim for 5 to 10 very intentional positions. So, and that comes from, you don't have to do research papers on these companies, but you do want to have an idea of, if you see it posting out there, hey, what does this company do? And where would this position fit within what they do? And then what have I done that's similar to that? So that'll give you something to put on maybe a cover letter or an introductory message. And I think the trick, honestly, is that if you are truly that intentional and truly that great of a fit, it should be really easy to come up with something off the tip of your tongue that's easy to say about what you've done that would advance their mission in the position. So I just a little anecdote, I made a LinkedIn post about it earlier today, but and I even work in this business for many years, but someone counseled me that, and within the last couple years, and I became even more intentional about, I'm going to apply to positions that I know I could really deliver value for. And I was able to relatively easily point that out in an application and start approaching even some hiring managers directly. And that's when the calls and interviews started happening. I mean, almost immediately. Because from a hiring manager's perspective, the candidates that are intentional and targeted like that, those are the ones that they're going to look at. So if you're not, then you might get passed over. That was long, but that was my piece of advice.
My piece of advice is work with a recruiter and be transparent during your job search process. Let them know, did you just start looking for a new opportunity? Are you actively interviewing? Do you have any possible offers in the pipeline? That way, the recruiter or whoever it is you're working with can help maybe use that information and present it to the client or hiring manager to prompt some speedier feedback.
Absolutely.
Well, my job tip is this week I was involved in a conversation on LinkedIn about how long should your resume be? And I know that most people say 1 to 2 pages long, but I prefer as a recruiter to see all your experience that is relative to the job that you're applying for. In my industry, the power industry is very small. The startup and commissioning world is very small. And showing all your experience that you have, what projects you've worked on, where you have worked is helpful, because it's really easy to go back and find someone who worked on a project with you that could give you a reference kind of off the cuff. And now I don't want your McDonald's or Chick-fil-A experience, but once you become a professional and enter into the professional world, especially in engineering, procurement, and construction, I want to see that. So I'm not worried if your resume is more than 2 pages long, or if it's 10 pages long. Just show me what you've done, because all that experience can be relative in a job, and it could help me cross sell you to another job. So always don't be put in a box where you have to say, I only have to have 1 or 2 pages. Show me what you know. Tell me what you have done. And last but least, always be honest on your resume about what you have done. That's very critical.
Thank you. Those are some wonderful tips, and I appreciate that last one as well, Jeanita. We always get questions on live Q&As about how long resumes should be, so that is very helpful. I see we have some questions coming in. Please send more of your questions to our experts. We will answer as many as possible. Our first question is, in an interview, what is the best way to talk about salary expectations? Great question.
I'll take
Well,
this if you'd like. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, well, it kind of depends upon the job that you're applying for. If you're applying for a contract position, your recruiter that you are working with has probably already told the hiring manager what your salary expectations are. And you should leave all those negotiations to the recruiter, so the recruiter can be a buffer between you and the hiring manager. Now, if you're asked that question in an interview, of course, be honest and tell the same amount that you told your recruiter, because if you tell the hiring manager something different than you told the recruiter or the hiring manager, vice versa, then somewhere along the lines, they're going to question your credibility.
Yes.
Now, if it's a direct hire position and your recruiter has presented you as a direct hire candidate, those kind of salary questions should be asked in an interview. And again, it's the same principle. Your recruiter is going to give that information to the hiring manager or to the hiring company, and always be honest and try to be, equal to what you told your recruiter. Anyone else have anything to add to that?
I do, sorry. But especially for the FTE, full-time perm positions, it's such a hard question because you hear so many polarizing opinions on should you give them a number or should you not? And I am of the belief when a manager releases a position, typically they know what budget they have to spend. But in almost every many years of doing this, almost every permanent offer that I've ever gotten for a candidate, there's been room for the right candidate, unless they specifically stated no in the beginning. So that said, I find that candidates who say things like, historically, well, actually, who say things more like other positions that I'm looking at tend to be in the 80 to 90K range. Although historically, I've been in the 70 to 75, and I'm looking for, something that's a logical next step up for me. And then I always try, because this has worked really well for me, to say, but I really want to emphasize, hiring manager, that the overall opportunity to me is what's important. And, I am confident in my ability to deliver. So I know that the money always comes. And I just need to impress upon you, hiring manager, that the overall opportunity really is what matters to me. So that seems to have worked really well for me, and I would encourage others to maybe try that too.
Absolutely. And I agree with you both. Typically with the jobs that I recruit on the telecom side, are contracts. So we tend to have set rates or ranges with little wiggle room there. But if somebody presents a number that they're looking for, that they need for themselves, their family, if the position we have right now isn't a fit, we keep that in mind. And, we get new jobs pop up all the time. So I would definitely be, again, transparent in what are the non-negotiables with what you're looking for your salary. We may not have something available at that exact moment that matches that, but the recruiting team with all divisions, we keep our eyes out so we can hopefully circle back with you guys and find something that matches.
And please, to that point, don't be discouraged if that particular position is not a fit, because I'm here to tell you that, good candidates are good candidates, and you will, much as you may not see it, but you will truly be thought of for other positions that open that fit better with what you look for. So I know that's a discouraging thing to people sometimes, but I just want to encourage you all not to be discouraged. Be honest and know that you will be considered.
Absolutely. We have another great question coming in. So in today's world, everyone has a great resume and cover letter, all thanks to AI. So how do I be on top? Great question.
Well, I can tell you, I was looking at resumes this morning and reading through them, and you can pick out the ones that are made with AI, or someone uses a resume writer because they may not use the terms correctly for your industry. And so I would say for you, always proofread, always make it personal to yourself. Because if you don't proofread it and you just click the AI button, it creates it and you send it out, you're almost hurting yourself because you're not putting your own personal spin on it. And those of us that look at resumes every single day can tell very quickly who has either had a resume writer or who has used AI to create that resume. So while AI is a very great tool, it's a wonderful tool. Always go back and proof it and make it your own, because you are selling yourself. You are your best commodity. You are your best salesperson. So I encourage you to just proofread it and still use AI, but make it your own.
Yeah. And two, that kind of plays to my comment earlier about, hey, if you truly are qualified for this position and have a background, then it should be easy for you to speak to it without AI. And please, again, don't think you have to write a research paper on a cover letter, but any introductory message, it should be easy for you to say something without AI that would be, to Jeanita's point, sincere and very obviously coming from you.
Agreed. And I think one avenue where AI may lack is not being able to put like a specific example of what kind of project did you manage or build. So definitely look at AI. It will put all of the buzzwords in your resume for you, but make sure you have details, specific examples about what you did for that project or that company.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, as a content creator, I'm very mindful of the fact that people love to read content that's generated by a human, but we have to evolve with AI, so there's a time and a place for it. We have a very simple question. How do I find a recruiter to work with?
We're here. Check the System One website. Depending on what industry you're looking for, you could just send in a general application. Any one of us would love to chat.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Simple enough.
And you, to that, sorry, but to that point, you want to make sure that you find a recruiter that is really going to understand what you're looking for and going to be your partner in this. There are some companies out there that it becomes very obvious when you're talking to them that you're only something that's a body that they are trying to sell to fill a position. So I always look for that level of sincerity and genuine interest in who you are and what you want to do.
Absolutely.
And
Great
even if
addition.
you reach out to a recruiter and it's not their industry or not their niche with System One, like I have people calling me all the time about software engineer positions. Those are not the positions that I look for. But if those people all take the time to send me an email, then I will forward it on to my counterpart in System One
I
to
look
get
for
them
those people.
connected. Get them connected, because System One
Yeah.
does have a very broad spectrum of what jobs we fill. We have 4 main silos. So if you see us out on LinkedIn and you want to get connected with us, connect with us, and we'll try to point you in the direction that you need to go. We work hand in hand with each other, and we want to succeed. We want to see our teammates succeed. So don't be afraid to reach out, even if it's not our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Definitely. And if you're not sure who to reach out to, you can also submit your resume to jobs.system1.com and you'll automatically be pointed to the right recruiter. All right. How do you sell yourself to a recruiter when you have extensive experience in a particular field while not having a bachelor's degree?
So
That's
I
a
can,
Go ahead. You start.
sorry, I can jump in real quick. So for a lot of our jobs, again, on the telecom side, we look for experience versus the education. Typically, with the majority of our jobs, you do need either a GED or high school diploma, but we want that hands-on experience and knowledge. There are a couple of jobs that we have that may require, an engineering degree, but for the vast majority of our positions, we want that experience. So I think if you're highlighting that and calling it out on your resume, that should suffice for them, at least, again, the jobs that Mountain Limited has.
Yes. And in my realm of IT and engineering, so many candidates for the last maybe 10, 15 years truly seem to have pursued a route of certifications as opposed to, normal rote bachelor's degrees. So unless the job specifically says that that's required, you'll actually probably see many jobs that say maybe bachelor's degree preferred but not required. So you just need to address that up front and say, hey, I have the commensurate experience. I have done this for 12, 15, 20 years, and just kind of describe that, and that should be sufficient.
Perfect. Our next question. How much do job descriptions matter on a LinkedIn profile? I have skill set, but unsure if job descriptions would help. If so, how detailed? Great question.
I feel that your LinkedIn should mimic very closely your resume. So, your LinkedIn job descriptions or details should almost match verbatim. Maybe not as much detail, but they should kind of mirror each other, I believe.
Agree. I think LinkedIn as a whole is sort of your brand. I mean, I think everybody probably needs to have a LinkedIn profile that speaks to all the different areas that they've worked in, and that you're part of groups that that you can add value to. I mean, it really is your online brand identity. So you need to, I think, have a LinkedIn profile, and then LinkedIn jobs seems to be like a very, very common way for employers to post positions as opposed to other job boards. So I would weight those heavily as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes when applying for a job, it's good to customize your resume a bit for the role. But with LinkedIn, I think just customize your LinkedIn for your brand identity. So we have some past Sound Off with System 1 episodes on both customizing your LinkedIn and customizing your resume. We have some blogs on it as well, so feel free to check those out. Our next question from Owen: what has been the biggest shift/trend in the hiring market recently, and how do I best position myself to take advantage of it? Good question.
Well, I'm
Goodness.
seeing a slow in the market, both on hiring side and candidate side. It seems like right now in the economical times here in the U.S., because I saw we had somebody from Russia, but here in the U.S., things are pretty tight right now. I think we're waiting to see how this administration moves forward, not to get too political, but I think both employing and hiring market is pretty tight right now. Everybody's sitting, not wanting to move. So this week, I have noticed that a lot of people are putting out on LinkedIn, "Hey, I lost my job. I'm looking for work." I think that's a great avenue to market yourself and tell people, "Hey, I'm available. I'm looking. Here's my best stuff, and here's the jobs I'm interested in." This week, every time I've seen one of those, I've reached out to those people and sent them a direct message and said, "Hey, send me your resume. I'll put it in our database. I'll connect you to the person I think that would best fit this, or I'll add you to one of my hot lists if it's someone in my industry," because eventually the market is going to change. And when it changes, it's going to change fast. And you'll be out there, you'll be ready, you'll be a step ahead. You won't have to sit in the balance and wait for the market to change. You'll be already proactively marketing yourself.
Yeah. And I don't know. I started my career in staffing right around the 2008, debacle that was. And I don't think this is nearly to that level, but I say this as an encouragement that even though companies are, slower and hiring a little bit gun shy, maybe for lack of a better word, on making sure they hire quickly. They just put people through more paces, I think, than they used to. But the encouraging part is that this will break loose, and you want to be somebody that has continually been upskilling yourself, because I can just see it now that hiring managers are going to say, "Hey, what have you been doing since then?" And it's a different landscape than we've been in before, where there's a lot more understanding to gaps in employment than there has ever been, and that's good for us. But you also want to demonstrate that you're a candidate that's been investing in yourself and your knowledge, and those are the people that I think hiring managers tend to enjoy or pick, I guess, during that time, because it will happen. And when it happens, it'll happen quick. Hang in there.
Awesome. And Anthony is asking, what do recruiters really need from new graduates or those trying to break into a new field? Great question, Anthony.
So I would say just learning what that new grad is looking for with their next opportunity. One of the, we here at Mountain Limited, we hire new grads for junior outside plant engineering roles. And we can hire folks who have a civil, electrical, or mechanical engineering background. But, if you had a mechanical engineering degree and you want to go more on like that route, then we probably wouldn't submit you over to a telecom field and design engineer position, because that might not be what you're interested in. So just let us know, what you're looking for, where you're looking to go and grow with that. And then we can point you in the right direction, whether it's with our division or another division within System 1. So just see, be honest and kind of what you're seeking with that new opportunity.
I would say this is speaking from personal experience. My son graduated in December, and it took him a long time to find a job. And he eventually ended up having to take an internship position. And even though he had already graduated. So I would say don't be afraid to take an intern position. It might not be what you're wanting, but for my son, it actually, they have already hired him and they are talking about, you know, increasing his schooling to get actually exactly what they're wanting. They like him, he likes them. So my suggestion to you is don't be afraid to take a job that you might think, oh, that really isn't what I want. I don't want to be an intern. I don't want to take that lower level position. I'm a college graduate. Don't be afraid of that. You're not going to stay there forever. You're going to advance. Um, but that willingness to learn and to show that you're willing to learn and that you're willing to take a step out there and prove yourself in the adult real world job market. That's a big step, and that goes a long ways with a recruiter. Also, you might get into an internship that you just absolutely hate, and then when you talk to a recruiter, you can say, man, I did this internship and I did not like doing walk downs. I do not want to be on the construction site. I want to be in an engineering office. Great, you figured that part out. If you take a job, a direct hire job, and you're working somewhere and you're like, man, this is not what I want, then you're kind of stuck there for a little bit till you find another job. So don't be afraid to take an internship, a contract position, just something to test the waters and get out there into the real world of, or the professional world. And good luck.
Yeah. And that is something we see a lot with hiring managers moving slower, is there are a lot more contracts out there that are contract to hire, as opposed to, maybe they don't have the budget right now to put somebody in a headcount, but they do have the budget for a contractor, which comes from a different bucket. And they can get you in there so that you're primed and ready once that position, the headcount does open. So that's great in support of Jeanita's example.
Absolutely. And our last send off with System One was actually all about recent graduates, and we touched upon the same points. Our last blog article was also a recap of that. So if you're a recent grad and you're kind of confused about which direction to go in next, make sure you check out that content. We have one more question. How should you address being unemployed for over a year?
Well, I typically, fortunately, I've never been in this situation to test the theory, but I know I've heard hiring managers, and truly don't be discouraged by that, because again, you wouldn't believe the understanding that there is right now with hiring managers. It's not like it used to be where they had, reservations to that. So I would just say, hey, I have been working, in a job that's maybe not in my field. I took the time to study and take a course or get a certification. Or maybe I did some contract work and lent my expertise to other folks as a consultant. So, you want to maybe demonstrate that that's what you were doing. That would be a great thing to say in that year. That's just something I know hiring managers have told me that they really liked to hear.
Yeah, and to that too, I think with COVID, I think a lot of, that changed things a little, where people are more understanding. Life happens. If you were doing a position that wasn't industry related, or short-term contract role, or taking care of a family member or yourself or whatever it may be.
All very valid reasons.
Yeah, I think the hiring managers are much more understanding than previously.
Yes.
I would also add on your resume, when you became unemployed, go ahead and mark that date on your resume. Don't continue to say to present, because that leads a recruiter to think, oh, they might not be being honest about what they've done. It's okay to say, my assignment ended, this was the last
Mhm.
day. And then the next line, you could put the date and just put currently seeking employment,
Mhm.
um, or going back to school, obtaining information. When your recruiter calls you, you're going to discuss more of that. But I see people put out there a lot of times to present, and that gives a falsification of really your tenure or the time that you have been there. So just try to be as honest as you can be upfront.
Mhm.
And being unemployed for over a year, as both Leah and Erica have said, that is a thing of the past. People have
Yeah.
had that
And
nowadays. And
two, I wanted to just pop this in there on, because I know it seems frightening to change it from to present, because then time starts ticking and you get nervous. But recruiters know that there are contract positions or contract to hire positions where they will look for somebody who is ready to start tomorrow. And if
so,
they are seeing on your profile or resume that you're still working, they may not even call you for that because they think that you're still working and have to give a 2-week notice. So it kind of works against you. So that would be another reason, obviously honesty and integrity, but that would be another reason you want to end it if you can on your resume.
Absolutely. Yeah, use it to your advantage. And like everyone said, don't be discouraged. Many people have experienced layoffs. I've experienced layoffs. There's always a great way to come
Yeah.
back from it. And we are out of time for today, but I want to thank everyone. We had really fantastic questions. If your questions didn't get answered right away, we will comment and get right back to you. Don't forget to follow System One on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll see past episodes. Make sure you tune in to Sound Off with System One every first and third Friday at 2 p.m. for more topics. Our next Sound Off with System One live stream is Friday, May 2nd, and we'll be discussing interview etiquette and how to prepare for the toughest questions. See you then.
Yeah. Thank you all.